if you really want to explore Worcester County, you have to spend some time on our rivers. We're just a few hundred yards away from the Pocomoke River Canoe Company on the main body of the Pocomoke River in Snow Hill, and we're going to explore some of the animals that prefer open river habitat. So one thing you're going to see when you paddle in the Pocomoke is the presence of these boxes here. These are wood duck boxes, so they've been built specifically for one of our breeding ducks, the wood duck, which decades ago was pretty rare, but thanks to groups like Ducks Unlimited, the Maryland Natural Resources, Fish and Wildlife, these boxes provide nesting habitat for birds that have a hard time finding nests in old trees. And in the wild, they would nest in a cavity in a big old cypress tree that maybe broke off or a branch broke out, and they'll still do that, but they really love these wood duck boxes. So the female will lay some eggs in here. You'll see sometimes the birds fly in and out of that opening. The babies hatch out, they crawl up the side of the box, they fall in the water, and off they go with mom and dad for the spring season. This metal collar here is a predator guard. It keeps things like black rat snakes and raccoons from crawling up in to get the babies. So whenever you're out here, you shouldn't get too close. There's no birds in there right now, but those are homes for nesting wood ducks on the Pocomoke River. So the Pocomoke River and the forest around is what we call the northernmost of the southern swamps because of this tree right here. This is a bald cypress. It's a tree you find typically in southern swamps like in the Carolinas and Georgia, but it comes as far north as sort of southern Delaware where it stops existing as an ecosystem. And the reason these trees do so well here is they can live in wet soils or actually right out here in the open river. The bald cypress is a deciduous conifer, so it has leaves that are kind of feathery and look like needles, but they do lose those needles in the fall. The green needles turn kind of a rusty orange color. It's beautiful to come back here after the summer season and watch the leaves change here in the cypress swamp. So right in front of my boat right now is one of the real gems of the cypress swamp. It's a little bird called the Prothonotary warbler. The males are bright gold, and he might sing for us. He's been singing quite a bit. That's him. How cool is that? So Prothonotary is the only eastern warbler that nests in tree cavities. So they'll nest in old woodpecker holes, in cypress trees and other hardwoods here in the swamp. But they live fairly close to the water, and you'll hear them sing like that quite a bit in April and May while they're defending their territory. They raise their young and they head down to the tropics after the summer season. But to see one here against the dark water of the swamp and the green trees is really a treat for bird watchers and just nature enthusiasts. So the bright gold Prothonotary warbler, the Prothonotary name comes from gold cloaks worn by medieval Catholic clerics. So apparently it's got a religious connotation, but really cool to hear and see the Prothonotary warbler here on the Pocomoke in the spring. So one thing you'll notice when you paddle in the Pocomoke is the dark tea-colored water. Some people look at that and think maybe it's dirty, but it actually isn't. This is a natural color. The Pocomoke's in pretty good shape up here. But the tea color comes from tannic acid or tannins that emerge from the decomposing cypress needles and other leaves of the forest. Now, one benefit of this, maybe, I don't have the scientific paper to prove it, but is the acidic nature of the water might make it difficult for mosquito larvae to kind of hang out here and emerge into adulthood. So when you paddle in the Pocomoke, you will notice, even on a day like today, hardly any mosquitoes. So as our town economic development director Michael Day likes to say, mosquito-free paddling. So over here on this little tree that's kind of fallen in the water is a red-bellied turtle. This is our largest basking turtle. They get to be about 11 inches across the shell, and you'll see these frequently on the Pocomoke, basking on logs. They're ectotherms, or cold-blooded, so the sun warms them up, then they can get active, go feed, get in the water and cool off, come back up in the log again to get warmed up again. So that is a basking red-bellied turtle here in the Pocomoke River. When you're paddling on the Pocomoke, keep your eye on the tall individual trees out in the river. They provide great perches for some of the common birds you're going to see, like double-crested cormorants and eastern kingbirds. The cormorant is an aquatic bird, kind of looks like a duck, but they actually hit the water and dive for fish. The kingbird is a flycatcher, so you'll find that bird teed up on a snag or a dead branch, hover off and grab insects, and it'll nest in little trees like this right here on the river. So the plants all around me, I think it's yellow pond lily or spatterdock, these big broad leaves emerge from the river in the spring, like in late April, and you'll see them throughout the summer, but they die back in the fall. It's really great to paddle here year-round because the river changes so much. And these wetlands here, along with the cypress trees, provide great habitat for turtles, songbirds, barred owls, woodpeckers, all sorts of wildlife here on the Pocomoke. So come visit us in Snow Hill, Maryland, rent a kayak or canoe at the Pocomoke River Canoe Company, and explore the Pocomoke River when you're traveling Maryland's beach and beyond.